Welcome. This is going to be a lower back movement focused class. You're going to need two props. You're going to need a black strap and you're also going to need a felt pad. Now, if you don't have these props, don't panic yet. You can use bath towels. There's a link to using bath towels, how to roll them so that you get a thick roll or a thin roll, and use that in the meantime. If you want to purchase these props, because they are very handy, and if you're following me, there's a good chance you already have them, but if you don't, there's going to also be a link for Critical Alignment Therapy Props.com, and you can use the code AMBER10 for a discount. There you go. I tried to sell something. All right, let's get started. Now with the lower back, when the lower back is in pain, and I have this picture right here beside me, you probably can't see it too easily, but in that picture, it shows the different muscles that run up and down along the spine. When we are in back pain, when we have an injury, the tendency is the lower back muscles tighten up to help protect us. The downside is they hold on to that tension. So when we're working here, what we're going to work on is not only releasing the tension, which, surprise, surprise, isn't always stretching, but we're going to work on getting the muscles to be functional. And functional means they know how to contract when needed and they know how to relax when they're not needed. Now, your lower back muscles are part of your core. So, little disclaimer here. If you are still holding on to that strong belief that a strong, constantly gripped core protects your back, you're going to have to figure out how to let those go too. We're going to talk about it a little bit as we move through class. But what ends up happening with those over gripped core muscles is that it actually puts pressure into your lower back. So you're putting compression in between those vertebrae and you're holding that. Well, the vertebrae, as you're going to learn here, are meant to move. So we want the core to be just as functional as the muscles in the lower back. All right. So we're going to take either our blanket or our felt pad, and to start, we're going to make a thick roll. I know we're starting right off the bat with the big roll. Now, if your lower back is currently in a flare-up, I'm going to let you know this is not the way to start. Okay? You're going to have to find a slightly different video, because if your back is currently in a flare-up, and I'm talking flare-up where it's excessively more painful than usual to move, that's a flare-up, we need to go through our flare-up plan. Okay, there are still exercises to do, but this is for getting the muscles in the back to work functionally. So they know how to contract when needed, they know how to relax when we don't need them. So if your back is kind of sore, but it's not flare-up sore, you should be good to go. Okay? You don't have to be out of pain to do this work. That's not our starting point. Our starting point is where you are. So if your back is cranky, okay, then we can do this. You're always listening to your body though. As I mentioned though, if you are in being flare up, this isn't going to be the exercise to do. All right, little crankiness. Here we go. We're going to make a thick roll. So what you're going to do is take your felt pad and you're going to turn it so that you're going to roll up the short edge to the short edge. All right. That's going to give us a thick roll. Now, if you have blankets or towels, you're going to want to make a thick roll with those towels. Now, when we lay down, this roll is going to go into our lower back. All right. And the lower back is that area between the rib cage and the pelvis. When you lay down, it is a teeter-totter. So your shoulders come down, the pelvis is lifted. The pelvis is lifted so that we can now kind of pay attention to feeling just the pressure in our lower back. If we let the tailbone drop right away, there's a really good chance that your nervous system goes, that's too much, that's too much. And it starts kind of panicking. So right now, pelvis is lifted, roll is in the lower back, and we're hanging out here. Now I do want you to take your hands to your lower ribs, because as we create the movement, you may find your rib cage tries to help you. And if the rib cage is lifting to flare, that's where the rib cage is trying to help you. We want this movement right into the lower back. Now my feet are planted on the ground, my pelvis is lifted, this roll is in my lower back. If those muscles in your lower back are cranky and holding on to tension, you're likely going to feel this. The work right here is to do with the breath. This is patience and paying attention to your breath. Being able to feel grounded through your feet. Being able to feel that your lower back is resting on the roll, not resting, collapsing. Your pelvis is still lifted, but your lower back is in contact with this roll. I also want you to notice your shoulders, the back of your head, they are resting on the ground. We're hanging out right here, paying attention to that breath. Your exhale allows the body to feel the support of the ground underneath you. Your inhale allows you to find a little bit of space. Now that space might be around the collarbones. That space might be a belly breath. That space might be in the tops of your feet, but it allows you to connect, and it doesn't have to be in your lower back. We don't need to be constantly focused on the lower back. This portion of the exercise, I just want you to feel how your breath can help connect you to the internal sensations of your body. A lot of times when we live with pain, we push away those internal sensations of our body. There's also the flip side of that, where we ignore those internal sensations. Well, that's kind of the same, pushing away. The other side of that, I should say, is hyper-focusing on all of those sensations. The body is going to have sensations, okay? That is how our nervous system keeps us safe. Try to feel right now that the sensations are okay. There's no tissue damage happening while we lay here. We're just noticing how our breath connects to those sensations. Also noticing how our breath can connect to the rest of the body and how it feels. So we're hanging out right here, and I'm talking because I want you to be able to hang out here and start to feel comfortable. I mean, it's not super comfortable, but you feel that it's safe. And you can pay attention and you can find that calm breath. If you can find that point, then you can move on. If you're doing this portion and your mind is going a mile a minute, thinking of all the what ifs, feeling every single sensation, noticing that there's a high energy, maybe a little bit of anxiety around just laying here, you're going to take a couple more breaths and you're going to roll off of this. In fact, the easiest way to come up is to lift if you can, and then roll, lay back down, getting off of this. Because if we're in this position and the body can't feel safe to push through and get the pelvis to do the movement, which is going to be our next move, isn't really a great idea, right? The whole premise of this is getting into a position, and this goes with every critical alignment therapy exercise. We move into a position and there's going to be sensations. We notice them. If they create an anxiety, we're not pushing through that anxiety to do the movement, because that's not going to fix anything. What we're working towards is creating this connection to feeling, finding a sense of safety, allowing the nervous system to feel calm or safe, and then creating movement. That's how we build. And a lot of this, I could talk forever about this, you guys know that. A lot of this comes from that predictive processing where our body predicts it's going to be bad, and if we push through and it predicts and says it's going to be bad and it is bad, we get this confirmation. What we want to do is hang out here, find when we can get to a point where it's like, okay, this isn't too bad. And then we move slowly and we listen for those whispers. And then what happens is it goes against, it creates a prediction error, and the body goes, oh, maybe that's not so bad. Maybe it's not super dangerous. And we can continue building from that. Okay, that's our little prediction error, predictive processing learning for today. Now, we've been laying here for a few minutes. I want you now, if you're still here and you have a little bit of calm, you're going to gently let your tailbone dip down. Now, if you're watching on the video, my tailbone doesn't move very far. Doesn't need to, but my hands are on my lower ribs, keeping this upper portion of my body stable, because your body will try to find its easiest path, which usually means rib cage lifting, tailbone dipping down. So if you look at the video for a second, I'm going to compensate. Tailbone dips down, rib cage lifts up. This is not what we want. Rib cage stays. That's why the hands are there. Tailbone dips. It's not a huge movement. It might be a millimeter for you. It might be a half a centimeter. Doesn't matter. But what we're doing is getting some movement into the lower lumbar spine, which tends to be the most protected space, mainly because it is part of our foundation and there is a solid structure of muscle that holds that and gives it extra support for if we're jumping or running, things like that. So we've got this little bit of movement. And as you move, we're just going to move slowly. Okay? You're going to feel a whisper edge. This whisper edge might be in muscle. It might be in joint. It might be in your knee. It might be in your rib cage. Just notice it. Okay, we're not looking for the screaming movement of this. We're looking for just movement. Now, as you move your tailbone up and down, what's happening is your hamstring and your glutes have been doing a lot of the work. I want you to lower your tailbone down. Doesn't have to touch the floor. You find your movement. Hold it there. It might start getting a little uncomfortable, but I want you to know that this is giving some feedback into those muscles in your lower back. It's also allowing for this little bit of traction to happen in your lumbar spine. So we're giving it a little bit of space. Now, as I mentioned, we tend to use our glutes and our hamstrings for that movement. I want you to bring in your abdominal muscles, which means from your pubic bone to your belly button. It's like a reverse crunch. Bring that up. Use the core a little bit. You're not pushing your lower back down into the roll. That's the tricky part. All I want you to do is use these abdominal muscles, and then you lower that tailbone back down. Use these abdominal muscles. Bring that up. This does take practice. Okay, so try it 4 or 5 times right now. Just working on finding how these lower abdominal, it's really all the abdominal muscles, okay? But we're putting this kind of focus right here from the belly button to the pubic bone, giving this movement a little bit more focus, getting the abdominal muscles to help with the movement. Excellent. Okay, so now we're building that crew of muscles being the glutes, the hamstrings, the abdominal muscles. We're going to add in our last crew member, which is those lower back muscles. Okay, that quadratus lumborum and erector spinae muscles that parallel the spine. Those are the ones that tend to hold on to tension. Now, I want you to bring your knees in towards each other, the tiniest little bit, like an inch. Your knees do not need to touch, and I just want you to be aware that it lets the glutes soften a little bit, just a little, okay? And you can play with that too. Knees can come out, knees can come in. Tailbone is low. Now I want you to allow that tailbone to feel like it can lower down. We're not going past the whisper. We're still in that area of noticing how it feels. Tailbone does not need to touch the ground. Okay? I need to repeat that. We're looking for the movement you can manageably do today. Because if you practice this, you will find that there is improvement over time. Now, from this position, we've got the abdominal muscles doing a little bit of support. We've noticed the glutes and the hamstrings. Now we're engaging the lower back. From your belly button, you can grab your pants and your shirt, and I want you to lift them, right? Actually lift them, because this is where we're going to lift from. And as you lift your belly button, your shirt, your pants, I want you to feel the muscles in your lower back, they start to contract. And then when you bring that back down, they soften. Now, just to be clear, we're not lifting off the strap. All we're doing is functionally contracting the lower back, then letting it soften. Functionally contract the lower back, then let it soften. The roll is underneath us to give us feedback, because there's a good chance your body doesn't quite connect to what those sensations are. That's it. Now, as you do that, you're going to notice one side contracts a little differently than the other side. If you have one side that contracts stronger and it uses all its strength, and the other side kind of lags behind, like my right side always loves doing the work. So what I do is I soften and I engage. I initiate the movement from the left side. My right side will follow along. That's how it works. And what happens, you only have to do that about 2 or 3 times just to bring in a little extra neural stimulation onto that one side that doesn't want to do the work. Now, the flip side of that can be relaxation. If you're lifting and one side relaxes easier than the other, you create the contraction, like you're lifting your belly button, okay? And then you initiate relaxation from the side that doesn't like to relax. The other side will just follow along. And you can play with that. That's where curiosity plays a part in this, because we can't just look at this as black and white. Everything needs to be equal. Everything needs to be the same. Everything needs to move the way Amber's talking about. We're looking at where we are for today and being curious as to which side might work a little differently than the other, and just notice it for now. That's it. Now, we've been moving that spine, okay? We've been getting those muscles